My sister took my personal things and money from my lockbox. After quietly gathering proof, I revealed what she'd done at a family gathering, but my husband got angry, shouted, and sided with her. He even slapped me, knocking me down. I decided to get back at them, but before the police arrived, something unexpected happened that changed everything. Hi, I'm Rachel, a 34-year-old fashion consultant living in sunny Los Angeles. Life here feels amazing: warm weather, beautiful beaches, and lots of fun activities. My husband, Chris, is a software engineer, and we've built a comfortable life together. We live in a beautiful home with modern decor, and weekends are usually filled with brunches and parties with friends. Everything seemed perfect, or at least I thought so, but life threw us some unexpected challenges. It all started when Chris's sister, Megan, lost her job. She's 29 and had been struggling to find steady work. When she asked if she could stay with us, I agreed, thinking it was the right thing to do, but I had no idea that agreeing to this would set off a chain of events that would change everything. Megan moved in after losing her job. At first, I hoped having her around would bring us closer as a family. We tried to make her feel welcome, but soon I noticed strange things happening at home. It started with my favorite watch, which I had left on my dresser but was missing the next morning. When I asked Megan about it, she laughed and said, "I thought it was mine." Sorry. I brushed it off, thinking it was just a mistake. Who would think twice about a watch? But then more things went missing: my diamond ring, makeup, and even a designer handbag. Every time I asked Megan about it, she'd say it was an honest mistake. Chris always sided with her, which bothered me. "She's having a tough time, don't jump to conclusions," he would say, ignoring my concerns. The real turning point came when I found money missing from my lockbox. I always kept some cash there for emergencies, but one day I noticed $1,500 gone. I started to panic, and I had a bad feeling that Megan was involved. I told Chris about it, but he barely paid attention. "Maybe you just forgot, Rachel," he said, not believing me. I felt like I was losing my grip on reality. It seemed like Chris couldn't see what was happening right under our roof, and that made me question everything. Frustrated, I decided to take action. I made a plan to catch Megan red-handed. I marked some $1,500 bills with invisible ink and set up a hidden camera in my walk-in closet where the lockbox was. It was risky, but I needed proof. Days went by, and I kept checking the footage, hoping to find something. Finally, on the fourth day, I saw it: Megan, going through my lockbox and taking the marked bills and one of my rings. My heart raced, but I felt a sense of relief knowing I had proof. I decided to confront her. I found her in the living room, looking at her phone. "Megan, we need to talk," I said. "What's up?" she replied, not looking up. "I know you've been taking money from my lockbox. I have proof." Her face changed for a moment, but then she acted like it was nothing. "You think I'm scared of some video? Chris will never believe you over me." Her words hit me hard. It wasn't just about the money anymore. It was about trust and respect. I felt betrayed not just by Megan but by Chris as well. This wasn't just about my belongings, it was about my dignity. The tension in the room was thick, and I realized this was only the beginning. I had to expose the truth. The upcoming family gathering was my chance to do that, but I couldn't help wondering how it would go. Would Chris finally believe me, or would this make everything worse? The day of the family gathering came, and I was nervous. It was supposed to be a celebration for Chris's promotion at work, but all I could think about was what would happen when I revealed everything. I spent the night before practicing what I would say. Would Chris finally stand by me? That morning, I picked out a navy blue dress that made me feel confident. Chris walked into the room and smiled at me. "You look beautiful, Rach," he said, kissing me on the forehead. His words should have reassured me, but instead, they just felt like a mask for everything that was going wrong. "Thanks, Chris. I just hope everything goes well today," I said, trying to smile. "Of course, everyone's excited to see you," he said, unaware of the storm that was about to unfold. When we got to Chris's parents' house, it was lively. His mom, Karen, was cooking in the kitchen, and the smell of grilled meat filled the air. Family members were outside chatting, drinking, and having fun. I tried to join in, talking with Chris's cousins and laughing at their jokes, but my mind was elsewhere. As the day went on, I saw Megan laughing with the family like nothing was wrong. I couldn't believe it. How could she act so carefree after stealing from me? I glanced at Chris, who was deep in conversation about work, not noticing anything. Finally, it was time for the toast to celebrate his promotion. Everyone gathered around, and I took a deep breath, nervous but determined. This was my chance. Chris stood up and began. "Thanks, everyone, for coming. It means a lot to have my family here to celebrate." The crowd cheered, and I saw how proud he was. For a moment, I remembered why I fell in love with him. Afterward, Chris raised his glass again. "I just want to say how grateful I am for my amazing sister, Megan. She's always been there for me." That was my cue. As everyone clapped, I stood up, feeling all eyes on me. I need to say something too, I said, my voice trembling. It's important. Chris looked confused. Rachel, maybe now isn't the time? No, Chris, it's time to address some things, I said, my heart pounding. Megan has been stealing from me. I have proof. Gasps filled the room, and Megan turned pale. What are you talking about? She cried. You can't just accuse me like that. I'm not accusing you without evidence, I replied, pulling out my phone. I have video footage of you taking money from my lockbox, and I know about the jewelry you've borrowed. I connected my phone to the TV, and the screen showed Megan taking things from my closet. The room went silent as everyone watched in shock. I felt a mix of relief and fear. This was the moment I'd been waiting for, but I still worried about how Chris would react. See? I pointed at the screen. That's you, Megan, taking my money. How can you deny this? Megan's face twisted in anger. You set me up? This is crazy. You're trying to ruin my life, she shouted, but it was clear she wasn't as confident as before. Before I could reply, Chris stood up, his face red with anger. You did this. You embarrassed her in front of everyone. What's wrong with you, Rachel? He yelled, his words hitting me hard. You're a liar. You're always so dramatic. I was stunned. Chris, this isn't about me. It's about the truth. She's been stealing from us. But he wasn't listening. You've turned my family against me. How could you do this? He shouted. Then, in a shocking moment, he slapped me hard across the face. The room went completely silent, and I felt a wave of shock and disbelief. I never imagined Chris would do something like that. The gasps from everyone around me felt distant, but all I could focus on was Chris and his furious face. Get out of my house, Rachel. I want a divorce, he said, his voice cold and firm. His words hit me like a bolt of lightning. Everything felt unreal. I thought exposing Megan's lies would give me my life back, but instead, I was being kicked out of the life I had with Chris. Tears streamed down my face as I grabbed my things and walked toward the door. I barely noticed my family in-laws' shocked faces, and all I could hear was the pounding of my heart. Megan, on the other hand, wore a smug expression, knowing she'd won. Once outside, the weight of everything hit me. I had stood up for myself, but it had cost me everything. As I walked away from the house, I realized this was just the start of a much bigger fight. I had to find a way to rebuild my strength and dignity, even if it meant facing Chris and Megan again. After leaving Chris's parents' house, I felt broken. I drove around Los Angeles aimlessly, feeling lost in the city that had once felt like home. I never thought standing up for myself would lead to such pain, but I knew one thing: I couldn't let this defeat define me. That night, I stayed in a hotel, feeling the weight of betrayal. The next morning, I looked at myself in the mirror and realized I had a choice. I could stay defeated or fight back. Anger filled me, sparking a fire I hadn't felt before. I called Lisa, my best friend from college, who always knew how to lift me up. Rachel, thank God you called. I've been so worried about you, Lisa said, her voice calming me. I'm a mess, Lisa. Chris slapped me and wants a divorce. I don't know where to start, I admitted, my voice shaking. You're stronger than you think. You need to take control. Have you thought about getting a lawyer? She suggested. I'm scared. What if I lose everything? I confessed. Rachel, you need to protect yourself. I'll help you find someone, Lisa said, reassuring me. With Lisa's encouragement, I found a divorce attorney named Karen who specialized in emotional and physical abuse cases. When I walked into her office, I felt a sense of purpose. I want to file for divorce, I told her, my voice steady. Karen listened carefully and made notes. We need to document everything, Rachel, and establish a pattern of his behavior. I also want to press charges for the slap. We can't let him get away with that. I felt empowered. Let's do it. We need to hold him accountable. As the weeks passed, I focused on work and the legal process. I threw myself into my fashion consulting career, and soon my boss promoted me to a senior position. The success gave me the strength to keep moving forward. Meanwhile, things weren't going well for Chris and Megan. Word spread about Megan's theft, and I found out from Lisa that she was facing serious charges for embezzling at her new job. People are talking, Rachel, and Chris's company is losing clients because of all this drama, Lisa told me. Hearing that felt bittersweet. Part of me was relieved that Megan was facing consequences, but I also still cared about Chris. I knew he'd been manipulated by his sister, but I realized I couldn't fix things for him anymore. Then one evening, as I was settling into my new apartment, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Chris. Can we talk? I made a huge mistake. My heart raced at the thought of him reaching out, but I felt myself becoming guarded. Rachel, don't do it, Lisa warned when I told her. You've come so far, don't let him pull you back in. You're right, I have to focus on my well-being, I reminded myself, though part of me still hesitated. A few days later, there was a knock on my door. I opened it to find Chris standing there, looking broken. Rachel, I need to explain, he said, his voice shaky. I don't want to hear it, Chris. You made your choice, I replied firmly, feeling clear-headed for the first time. I messed up. I should have believed you. I should have stood by you, he pleaded. I shook my head. You didn't, and now I need to focus on myself. His face fell, and I saw the pain in his eyes, but I had to stay strong. Please leave, Chris, I said, as I closed the door. I felt both sadness and relief. I was moving on, piece by piece. This was my journey now, and I would fight for my happiness and self-respect, no matter what came next. Months passed, and life began to settle down. I focused on rebuilding myself, both personally and professionally. My divorce proceedings were ongoing, and every day I felt more empowered. Though the legal battles caused anxiety, I was determined not to let fear stop me from creating a future that was truly mine. One afternoon, I received a call from Karen, my lawyer. Rachel, we've secured a settlement agreement with Chris, she said. My heart raced. You'll get a fair share of the assets, and we'll ensure there's a restraining order preventing him from contacting you. Thank you, Karen. This means everything to me, I replied, feeling overwhelmed with emotion. I had fought so hard to get here, and now it felt like I was finally free. That evening, I decided to celebrate this small victory. I invited Lisa over for a housewarming party. We need to toast to your new life, she said, excitement in her voice. I spent the next few hours preparing appetizers and decorating my new apartment, savoring the peace and joy I felt. When Lisa arrived, she brought a bottle of champagne. To new beginnings, she said, raising her glass, and to kicking toxic people out of your life. We laughed, reminiscing about college, and I finally felt truly happy again. A few weeks later, while walking my new rescue dog, Benny, I ran into Mark, an old acquaintance from the fashion industry. Rachel, it's been so long, how have you been? He asked with a warm smile. I'm doing well, actually, just got out of a rough patch, I replied, keeping it light. I heard about Chris and Megan. You've shown incredible strength, he said with admiration. Thanks, Mark, I'm learning to put myself first, I replied, feeling proud. We grabbed coffee together, and as we talked, I felt a connection I hadn't felt in a long time. We exchanged numbers, and for the first time, I allowed myself to be open to new relationships. One evening, I got an unexpected message from Chris. I just wanted to apologize. I realize now how much I hurt you. I hope you find happiness. His words made my heart twist. I didn't want to relive the pain, but I saw he was finally acknowledging the hurt he caused. I took a deep breath and decided to respond with kindness, but clarity. Thank you, Chris. I appreciate your message, but I need to focus on myself now. I wish you well, but I can't go back. I hit send, feeling a weight lift from me. I was finally closing the door on the past. That night, as Benny curled up beside me, I reflected on everything I had been through. I realized this journey wasn't just about surviving, it was about transformation. I had learned the importance of self-respect and standing up for myself, even when it felt impossible. With each passing day, I grew stronger and more capable, ready to face whatever came next. I had faced betrayal, but I had also discovered resilience. In reclaiming my life, I realized that sometimes losing everything is the first step toward finding yourself and building a better future. As I drifted off to sleep, I felt at peace. The road ahead was unknown, but I was ready to face it, one step at a time.